The war in the Middle East has been raging for almost 2 years. Israel is trying to eradicate Hamas, and unfortunately, the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are paying a heavy price. In Intervju tjedna media Servisa, I talked to Israeli ambassador in Croatia, Mr. Gary Koren, about plans for the future, the occupation of the Gaza Strip, hostages, and much more. Mr. Ambassador, welcome to Media Servis.
Thank you, Sven. Thank you to Media Servis. Good to be with you again.
Thank you. First of all, a few days ago, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced that Israel is preparing to occupy the Gaza Strip. What is the main goal, and what will happen to millions of innocent Palestinians?
Okay, I would like, first of all, to clarify the term occupy. From the military point of view, it's taking a territory for specific military goals. Well, of course, they follow the decisions of the cabinet, of the Israeli ministers, Prime Minister himself. So it doesn't mean that Israel is going to take Gaza and to keep it for future as a guarantee for a future peace. I'm saying this not lightly because Israel controlled Gaza, that was before that under Egyptian rule for many, many years. And Egyptians didn't try to establish a Palestinian state, and not Jordanians in the West Bank. And Egyptians were until 1967. Sven, you're a young man, most of the Croats probably, I don't expect them to know the historical facts. But the term occupation is very loaded. We control those territories in the past, and we are going to control as much as needed until it's a guarantee for maybe peace in the future. You know, in the past, people were saying territories for peace. We have a proof of that. We gave away Sinai Desert to Egypt, and we have a peace agreement with them. So, first of all, there is a lot of hysteria in the media, international politics. Oh, Israel's going. We are already controlling something like 75% of the Gaza Strip territory. Now we are speaking about Gaza City. It was spared not only because there is a heavy concentration of civilian population uninvolved, being hostages by themselves, and not only the 50 Israelis, being hostages themselves to the crazy jihadi politics of Hamas. Hamas could have stopped the war a long time ago. It can stop today. So all the concerns of our friends in the West, okay, because we are less attentive to others who are not our friends, especially not in the West. Sorry for being cynical. But again, the concerns and those slogans, Israel is going to occupy Gaza, should be taken with good measure of reality check. We have strong belief that they keep our hostages there. That's one of the major goals of the war.
Yeah, to release the hostages.
To release the hostages.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been done much easier in negotiations. But again, ask yourself, not you, Sven, but your listeners or whoever trying to understand the situation, why Hamas is not capitulating. For the sake of their own people. They understand it's a lost war. It was a madness what they did on 7th of October. It was self-defeating for aspirations of, let's say, reasonable Palestinians, not those who don't want the state of Israel to exist, like Hamas. So, yeah, we are there, first of all, to continue elimination of Hamas, to put a pressure. Maybe they will stop in 3 days, you know. Only yesterday it was published in the media that the talks with involvement Egyptians, Qataris, may renew. It means it's effective. Even speaking about taking over Gaza already adds pressure on Hamas. Great. Hopefully there will be a need to, because it will be painful for us and for the Palestinians.
That announcement of the occupation has drawn sharp criticism, as you said, to Western countries. Many countries are advocating an end to this war, primarily because of the civilians. When we talk about them, firstly, around 50 to 60,000 people lost their lives in the Gaza Strip. You said in some earlier interview that half of them were connected with Hamas, but okay, other half is pretty large number of casualties. Who is responsible for that? Hamas?
Yeah. Well, again, we have no intention to target intentionally civilian population in Gaza Strip, okay, or wherever, when we have to deal with, this kind of necessity of waging a war against our enemies. But Hamas, it serves their purpose, because modern warfare is also political warfare, it's also information warfare, it's also propaganda warfare. And despite the fact that Hamas is definitely losing from purely military point of view, it's lost a huge capacity. First of all the commanding echelon was destroyed by Israel, eliminated, killed in targeted attacks. Some of the political echelon, the leaders of Hamas were killed, and still they continue. They have some of its political leadership abroad, found refuge, and they still obsessively continue. So they openly say, there are recordings of leaders of Hamas basically saying that the Palestinian blood paves the way to the victory. Why? Because it served the political warfare. People in the world feel compassion to the fact that civilians are dying or civilians are suffering, and they expect the war to stop. Okay, all they want, Hamas, that Israel under pressure will stop the war, and then they can declare victory. It will be a weird victory. It will be, strange in the Western terms, in our understanding of military warfare. What kind of victory is that? You lost dozens of thousands of civilians, and you lost all of your military capacity, and you call it a victory? For them, it's a victory. It's like one of the headlines, I don't remember, in Western media was recently, kill Jews and get a state. That's kind of recognition that they're trying to get. And by the way, in this affair, Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, they are allies, despite the fact that they hate each other and they compete with each other and they sometimes kill each other. They still involved in different ways in political warfare in Israel.
An emergency UN meeting was called after that plan for occupation, as we earlier said. Australia, France, Great Britain, Canada, and other countries are increasingly loud in their support for recognition of Palestine and two-state solutions if the war continues. What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, we are thankful to the government of Croatia that, as many other countries, are understanding and realize this is counterproductive. Even countries that support and we respect this kind of position and stance, because it was also part of our, let's say, peaceful way in negotiations in the past of, realizing two-state solution, two-state for two people, I must stress. Those countries, it's unfortunate because right now, it plays into the hands of Hamas. Oh, maybe this is not the intention of those governments, but factually it plays in the hands because it puts the pressure and puts everything on Israel's shoulders, and it doesn't move us an inch towards ending the war or towards restarting possible peace negotiations. And then the question is also with whom and what territory and who rules so-called West Bank, Judea, Samaria, and who rules the Gaza Strip. So it's, to say the least, premature, and it's counterproductive, and it's even damaging. Okay, I will avoid any other, let's say, remarks what we think about it.
The domestic public is also a little bit dissatisfied. The protests in Tel Aviv, we could see that people shown that they want return of hostages and end of this war. Is Israeli dissatisfaction growing? What is the situation in main city?
Well, first of all, it shows that we are a normal country. We are a strong democracy, and I'm very proud of it. And not everyone in Israel, like in any country, voted for this government and this coalition. This is to start with, like in any country, including in Croatia, there is a general election. Some vote to this, some vote to that. Some trust this politician, some trust other politicians. And this kind of democratic divide is again normal, common, and even good in a sense. And but behind it, and I'm taking a special, of course, case of the one segment of protesting population, which is, of course, relatives, families of the hostages, that for them, the major concern that this operation now in the city of Gaza and around it may actually harm the dear ones. And for them, and maybe also in another segment, not all of them, but families of the fallen soldiers, of the people who were killed on 7th of October, they would rather also saying, okay, let's agree to almost anything that Hamas is asking, of course, reasonable things, and we don't mind, for instance, to release they are saying, to release all the terrorists in our jails, but to get our dear ones. We have at least 20 alive. The others, unfortunately, perished or during the captivity or were taken as dead bodies on 7th of October. Let's bring them back home, and then we will see if Hamas suddenly will say, okay, from now on we're behaving in a civilizational way. We are part of the future peace process. We're laying down our weapons. It will be great. And if not, if Hamas will provide a pretext to attack again, so we will have support and understanding also outside of Israel why we are doing. That's more or less in general lines what people, of course, demanding of Israeli government to stop the war because of that. In order to get the hostages back, like putting the hostages on the top of the objectives of the war. And of course, there is another part of the population. I cannot tell you, I don't know specifically what it's 50% by 50%, that are supporting the government, saying this is the opportunity to, for once and for all, to eliminate Hamas, at least in military terms. Of course, radical ideas of jihadism, of caliphate, of any other Islamist ideas that don't recognize a Jewish state or existence of state really will continue to exist. Like, ISIS was fought and ISIS is still there, and some elements of Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra, and you name it. There are so many radical Islamic organizations, and jihad is part, and Hamas is part of Muslim Brotherhood, which much wider Sunni radical organization. So we are not, we are realists in this sense, but again, those who say we already eliminated the political leadership and most of the military commanders, so let's finish the job and let's make such a blow to Hamas that they will not recuperate again.
Yeah. Why does Hamas does not want the end of this war? Is it the decision of Iran who finances them, or is it something else?
Okay, first of all, you are right mentioning Iran, because Iran has a strategic interest to create a ring of fire around Israel. And although the fact that Iran was, let's say, psychologically and physically hit in this, what they're calling, we are calling it Rising Lion operation, they're calling 12-day war, but also some of its proxies were, of course, very much badly hurt. I'm speaking about in this Ring of Fire. So you have Palestinian Sunni organization that shouldn't be under Iranian Shia influence, but they are. And this is, of course, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza. Then you had the Shia Hezbollah terrorist organization in Lebanon. And when I'm saying terrorists, because they are considered to be, they are part of the terrorist organization lists of European Union and US, of course, and many other countries. Then you had the Shia militias in Syria, and then they left to Iraq. And then they have the Houthis, which are Shias. So kind of Ring of Fire was supposed to deter or to punish. And so this kind of motivation still exists. So all those guys, all those bad guys, we call it also axis of evil, were financed, were trained, were indoctrinated by Iranian Revolutionary Guards, which by itself in many countries is already on a terrorist list. And the motivation is basically ideological motivation. It's about national charter created by Hamas for the Palestinian people. According to this charter, there is no place for Israel. So those, sorry to say, I will not call them in bad names, but those people who in the West demonstrate against Israel and calling free Palestine from the river to the sea, they basically support the ideology of Hamas. And frankly, also the Palestinian Authority, because the Palestinian Authority symbols, textbooks, even there. So they speak in English or in other foreign languages very modestly and very moderately and very pragmatically and promising things to presidents and to UN. But in Arabic, they not very much different from Hamas. Okay, so the dream of Hamas is and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad is, of course, to continue. You know, because we are on the radio and this medium is a little bit more, let's say, flexible, easy for me maybe to and sorry if I'm taking too much of the time. The Palestinian late leader, Yasser Arafat, was speaking a few times in the past that they have patience, they have time. It took 200 years to get rid of crusaders in the Holy Land, to get rid of Christians. So it will take another few generations to get rid of the Jews. So this kind of fatalistic mentality, messianic in some sense, exists among common people, among common Palestinians, because they were brainwashed in educational system, whether under Hamas, in UNRWA schools, UN funded, sometimes European Union funded, including textbooks, and in the so-called West Bank, schools of Palestinian Authority, the same.
Unfortunately, every day we can see truly shocking images of hungry people, especially children from the Gaza Strip. Trucks are standing at the borders, but food and water is not coming quickly as it should. Who is to blame for this? Why is that humanitarian aid is not allowed to pass quicker?
I'll start with mentioning that not once, not twice, Israeli leadership said we are not limiting anyone who would like from international community to help, to assist. There are procedures, we will deal with it, we will allow it. So anything that arrives to Israel, through Israel, gets into Gaza. We are not blocking anyone, okay? So it's definitely Hamas to blame for two reasons. One, major reasons. UN just a week ago admitted that at least 86% of food that comes, or it's medicaments and water and fuel, you know, it's not only about food, things that are getting together directly through UN, And nowadays, by the way, it's mostly with the help of the Egyptian side, are being robbed by Hamas. So why Hamas is doing that? Because it became an instrument of governing Gaza. The moment you control this important asset, which is called food, you basically have a way to control the population. Population depend on them. Now, what they do, they may have their stores full with this food, and they sell it because they have also to finance their activities. Okay, and we have enough pictures to show that there are some markets full with food. There are cafeterias. There are even chocolate cakes you can buy, and maybe there are pockets of hunger, but there isn't starvation. And it's also part of political warfare and oppression on Israel when, unfortunately, some of our friends are joining this train of hate, trying to claim that Israel is doing the starvation on purpose. Nonsense, fake, the pictures of children, few cases that we've proven children with different genetic diseases.
Yeah, 2 Palestinian boys.
And unfortunately, even the main media in the world put these pictures. It's photogenic, but this is fakes. This is untruth. Okay. And when we are trying to get concrete names of Palestinians, children who died from we still have some contacts, let's say, on public health issues. And we are not getting the names. So who are the children who are dying? And I'm not saying that even 100 cases in a population of 2.2 million, it's still terrible, of course. But depiction is like this is Sudan. The real hunger is there in Sudan, in Yemen, maybe also in Afghanistan, some parts. These are the real tragedies. So they basically inflate the situation. There are a lot of fakes, and there is no shortage. There is problems with dissemination, with moving, with transportation. We are very much thankful to American operation of Gaza Humanitarian Fund, which crazy, they are criticized by the left in the West for doing humanitarian job for the sake of the Palestinians. They are criticized. And in the eyes of someone, it should be only UN. Why should be only UN? If UN fails, if UN admits that 86% at least is taken by Hamas. And GHF is doing a great job, and thanks God they're going also to enlarge it from 4 or 5 points of distribution, maybe up all the way up to 50.
The world also strongly condemned the death of Al Jazeera journalists, one of whom was allegedly connected with Hamas.
Yeah.
But they were not the only one who perished. Some sources say that more than 200 Palestinian journalists lost their lives. What is behind that statistic, and is it true?
The specific case, I think we briefed all the international media station in Israel. And we are, the embassy is ready to provide information also to Croatian media if there will be an interest that proves that the so-called hero of Al Jazeera was just one of the regular officers of Hamas as well. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is for them, but also for us. This is not only military against the militants of Hamas fighting. It's also political, journalistic warfare, information warfare. So the people, Hamas people who infiltrated UNRWA, UN, they worked for UN, and they worked for Al Jazeera. That's the same in a sense. You have like false accreditation, you enjoy support of Al Jazeera, one of the greatest, biggest international networks with a lot of impact. It was done on purpose from their point of view. It's legitimate from their point of view, but for us, it was just one of the middle rank, let's say, commanders of Hamas. Okay, so we admit that we targeted him on purpose because of his other portfolio. Now, regarding the numbers of journalists, It's like the thousands that are mentioned by so-called Ministry of Health in Gaza, which also Hamas operatives. They never, on general number, they never admit that what are the numbers of the Hamas fighters, of the terrorists, of Palestinian Jihad. For them, they are all Palestinians. Okay, so the same regarding this fictitious number of the journalists.
We often hear from Israel that there is a media campaign against them. We already said something about that. Do you think that there is not enough talk about what happened on the 7th of October?
Well,
in the start, maybe there was enough talk.
Yeah. Of course, there is a sympathy. Of course, I'm coming back to Croatian case. I'm, again, myself and my government are thankful to the fact that Croatian government since the beginning recognized that this is a defensive war against international recognized terrorist organization. And we are thankful to Foreign Minister Gerlich Radman that had a visit in Israel just 3 weeks after 7th of October as act of solidarity with the families of the victims of the vicious atrocities that took place and the families of the hostages. We are thankful also for receiving relatives of the Israeli hostages in Croatia, to Prime Minister and to Foreign Minister and to Minister of Defense, Anušić as well. I think Croatia and many Western countries still understand the significance of 7th of October. Having said that, automatically they expect us, to wage a civilized war. Well, we watched and we learned a lot from the wars waged by Western allies in Iraq. And believe me, or Afghanistan, and believe me, if you ask military experts without any, let's say, political, ideological affiliation, that will tell you Israel is doing exactly what it should do. Mm-hmm. You fighting a war with a terrorist, which are embedded in civilian population, that use the civilian population and human shields, that target on purpose Israeli civilian population, that want to have as much blood as possible and as much attention and sympathy from the world. And that sympathy, if one thing is missing mostly when we are criticized, and I have no issue with the criticism. Israel, is not necessarily perfect, and we do mistakes like any country during the war situation, and we know how to make after such events, tragic events, we can make interrogation and check what happened, why happened. But it's very important that, not just for the sake of balance, sacred cow of balance, yes, the onus, the pressure should be made on Hamas. Countries, leaders, media should say, Hamas, stop fighting. Hamas, lay down the weapons. Hamas, come back to the negotiation table. Hamas, stop suffering of your own people. We don't hear it enough. Unfortunately. Okay? So those who demonstrate and demand from Israel to stop, at least have the decency, or maybe they don't, or maybe they don't care, or maybe they justify what Hamas is doing with the free Palestine and from the river to the sea, and maybe they justify the terror. I don't know. Well, not the governments in Europe, of course, or in the West.
You mentioned the Croatian government, but Croatian President Zoran Milanovic said that he's in favor of recognizing Palestine. And what do you think about Croatia's position, especially after Milanovic recently ordered the Croatian armed forces to cease all forms of military cooperation with the State of Israel? Yeah. What do you think about that decision? And
well, again, as a principle, I shouldn't be involved in Croatian politics. It's not my business. Whatever I report to headquarters, I report to headquarters. It's no one else's business. As I said before, I respect all institutions of Croatian democracy. It's nothing of personal or political, of course. We don't comment, we never comment on defense cooperation, and we never disclose what we sell or what we buy and where and so on. So this is on this topic. And on recognition of Palestinians, I already mentioned, we think it's damaging, it's counterproductive. And again, I'm thankful and I'm hopeful. I'm thankful to the government of Croatia, and I'm hopeful that it will stick to its positions. And this is not the only country. Of course, US is against the recognition, and some other European countries.
Lastly, after almost 2 years of war, peace negotiations are even rarely talked about. We already said that Hamas is not on the table. But when we talk about conflicts, war, battles, what can we expect? When can we expect end of this war? And more important, what will happen if you remove Hamas from Gaza in some near future?
I think when Prime Minister Netanyahu a few days ago depicted those 5 objectives of this stage of the war, I think, and this formula was mentioned not once, not twice in the past, we need to demilitarize Gaza, and we need to de-radicalize Gaza. We need to rebuild the trust between the people. I believe the Palestinians, of course, we cannot expect them now to be so much enthusiastic about two-state solution, except for the Palestinian autonomy leaders. Of course, they still continue to use those terms, but definitely Israelis, including on the left side of political map, maybe with some exceptions, totally lost trust of the Palestinian side. So we have to preserve, I think, this objective of sometimes reigniting the momentum of peace. Gaza should be rebuilt. People should live in decent, let's say, housing. Food should be given, medical services, education. No one argues about it. Of course, there is a lot of disinformation that Israel is trying to get rid of all the Palestinians in Gaza. Nonsense. Even if we have some people who believe in that or who dream on that, this is not the position of the government as a government. So, of course, we have to distinguish between temporary solutions to move people from the way of danger, from collapsing buildings, from unexploded ammunition. That's also planned for the future. So the moment Hamas will say, okay, we're stopping the fighting, we are considering to change our ways, maybe some of our leaders will take political asylum in Qatar or in Turkey or somewhere, I don't know, Iran maybe. But yeah, we were inviting the Palestinian Authority to come and rule Gaza. And we will consider to be, I don't know, part of future coalition. To some extent, you can say, yeah, it's their own political business. But we were badly burned with trust. So right now, government is even against involvement of the Palestinian Authority. Who knows, maybe in the future. As long as Palestinian Authority involved in political warfare against Israel, they will stay out of the business, okay? I'm not sure. I don't have, the prescriptions, or I don't have the elements of the future solution, but definitely the radicalization, the militarization should be there, and then we will be able to speak of maybe coming back to what happened in 2005, when Israel left Gaza. Israel pulled out of Gaza.
So that is a possible solution if Hamas
Look, let's hope. Okay, that's something that I guess our friends are also very much not only hoping for, but are ready to help. Whether some moderate Arab countries or Western countries, European Union, US, other countries will be ready to help, to provide, maybe even also the security arrangements. Okay, because again, we don't want to occupy in political terms. We will continue control until the moment we feel safe, until the moment we can say to Israeli citizens, come back, you can come back to the kibbutzim that were destroyed on 7th of October, you can rebuild your houses, and not suddenly you will be targeted by snipers or by mortars or by rockets, by some remnants of Hamas. Okay, it should stop. The moment it will stop, totally, the violence from the Gaza side, I think we will have to think how to rebuild the trust and how to establish different mechanisms of negotiations. Okay, we are not mad people. We don't want to continue for our children, for our grandchildren, to live in a few more decades of violence. Okay, so hopefully a way will be found. Again, I'm not sure if this is your last one, but please, no starvation in Gaza, no famine in Gaza. If there are people who were starved, there were pictures produced by Hamas, truthful pictures for a change, of 2 Israeli hostages. What's his name? Ron Braslavsky and Eviatar David looked like people who left concentration camps in Europe after Second World War, starved, and one of them depicted digging his own grave. It's a propaganda warfare, clear one. It's putting pressure on Israeli public. So Israel will kind of agree to terms of Hamas, but it's important that Hamas will be condemned also for those fakes. And the humanitarian assistance will continue to flow. There is no need. I opened this morning Israeli newspapers. Indonesia, the biggest Muslim country in the world, is going with Jordanian help and Israeli help, of course, to have airdrop in Gaza. So anyone, even Croatia, if you want to offer more humanitarian assistance, please, we will find a way to deal with that.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for your time. Hvala vam.
Thank you, Sven.